Hi, my name is Tammy French. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 15, Speaking to Inform, which is out of Stephen Lucas's textbook, The Art of Public Speaking. If you'd like to watch this full presentation with closed captioning, please visit the COMMUNIC8 submenu on the UWW-TV website at UWW-TV.org. So when we think about informative speaking and giving an informative speech, in some cases we might think, boy, that's one thing that we do it in a college classroom or maybe in a high school classroom, but we're never going to have to give an informative speech again. But actually, that's not very true. And in fact, informative speaking is really prevalent all over the place. My husband works in human resources, and it's very common in human resources that at some point you gather people together and you give essentially an informative speech explaining a new policy, a new provision in their health care, or something new that's happening related to some of the benefits that they're offered. What about an example of where, I don't know, maybe a Verizon store or a Sprint store has a new product, the latest iPhone or the latest Android, and they at some point have to kind of gather people together and explain to them how this new product works or some of the new features. That's an informative speech. So we can think of loads and loads and loads of examples of where in lots of professional situations, we have to gather people and explain something to them. Tell them a little bit about how something works or what the point is of something, and this is what informative speaking is. Now, when we boil it all down, there's really 4 kinds of informative speeches, and we're going to talk briefly about these different kinds: objects, processes, events, and concepts. For starters, an informative speech on an object is just really what it sounds like. You take something and you talk about it and you explain how it works. I remember one really memorable bowling ball speech where the student brought in a bowling ball, and I thought, okay, this is interesting. And of course, he was a bowler. But the speech was really much more interesting than I thought it was going to be on the surface. One of his visual aids showed the bowling ball cut in half. And I did not know up until then, not being a bowler myself, that the weight inside a bowling ball is actually off-center. And this is, of course, what propels great bowlers to be able to curve those balls the way they do down the alley. So just an example of a really interesting object speech. Another one that stands out in my mind is a student gave an informative speech on a sitar, which I learned is a guitar from India. And so the student explained some of the cultural implications of the instrument, played a little bit on the instrument. Again, a really great speech. So an example of what a thesis might sound like for this kind of a speech would be: the Mississippi River is divided into 3 sections, each with its own unique features. And of course, the preview statement then would be, the 3 features are this and that and the other, right? But of course, even something like a river would, in its essence, be an object speech. Another example of a speech to inform would be a process speech, when you explain how something works. There's that TV show, How Something is Made. I think it's still on. But I remember a couple years ago watching an episode that had to do with how they make crayons, and I just thought it was pretty fascinating. Well, that's what this is all about, is if you're giving any kind of a how-to speech, in essence, your informative speech is a process speech. I can remember a great student speech from years ago now, but the student gave the speech explaining how to change your own oil in your vehicle. Again, really interesting. Some of us can do it, some of us can't. Some of us perhaps have their dads that do it for them. People like me just drive to the Jiffy Lube or whatever it might be. But in any case, it was a great how-to speech. Another example of a central idea in this theme might be stage magicians use 3 common methods to perform their tricks. And you can, again, go into detail about what those 3 methods are. An event speech would be just what it sounds like, a speech that has to do with a specific event, either something that perhaps is planned that is going to happen, or perhaps an event that was completely unplanned. So for example, maybe you want your speech to be about Summerfest, or depending on your musical taste, maybe Country USA, or something about those kinds of events, those big festivals and conferences or musical events that happen routinely. But on the other hand, maybe an event speech could be perhaps about a natural disaster. Hurricane Katrina happened years and years and years ago now, but the effects of Hurricane Katrina are still felt all over the southern coastal areas. Of course, we've had quite an active hurricane season this year as well, but Hurricane Katrina is still one for the ages. An example of an event speech might be the Mardi Gras celebration in New Orleans is renowned for 3 things, okay? Speaking of the southern area of our country, right? So event speeches can be really, really interesting. The 4th kind of speech might arguably be the most complicated, and that would be the concept speech. So this is where you're talking about something that's a little more abstract. And because it's more abstract, it can be, again, maybe a little harder to explain. You'll remember from an earlier lecture that you're going to need to use some concrete examples to really make this concept speech effective and well. So if I wanted to do my speech about the concept of the burden of proof, for example, the legal term, that would be a concept speech. If I wanted to do my speech on the broken window theory, that would be a concept speech. So however I break up my main points, I'm going to want to use a lot of examples in there. An example of a thesis for this, there are 3 basic principles of nonviolent resistance. Okay, this isn't an object or an event or a process, right? So in any case, with these different kinds of speeches, we know that we have to get our ideas across as well as we can, regardless of the type of informative speaking we're doing. So let's talk about some general guidelines for informative speaking, no matter what kind. First of all, don't overestimate what the audience knows. You perhaps are a specialist in whatever it is you're informing us about, but it's most likely true that the rest of your audience is not, particularly in our COMM 110 class. So make sure that you're really explaining yourself well and that you're not overestimating things. I've had students in the past that, again, perhaps they're a little further in their academic career and they're really fully into their major, and they kind of give an informative speech on this really in-depth topic within their major, and it's hard to understand. So if your topic is geothermal science or something, just remember that the rest of us may not really be science people, or at least we don't have the science background that you have. And so I'm not suggesting you dumb it down. I am suggesting that you remember that we're smart, your audience is smart people, but we don't have that same academic background you have. Make sure you relate your subject to your audience. Now, this is true no matter what kind of a speech you're giving, but remember how important audience connection is. You like your topic, presumably, but you have to help us understand why we should like it. Help us understand how we can relate to what you're talking about, okay? How can we understand how important these things are to us here in this classroom in Whitewater, Wisconsin, or in your homes if you're taking this class online. But make sure you're conveying to us that there's some real reasons why we should agree with the topic and the importance of the topic. And make sure that you're not being too technical. We talked about that a few minutes ago, but try not to get lost in the details. I mentioned a little bit ago that oil change speech. Well, you know, the engine of a car is a pretty intense machine, isn't it? And so it'd be very easy for someone who's teaching all of us how to change their oil. It'd be really easy to get caught up in the details of how an engine works and where the oil goes within the engine and why, you know, this particular carburetor has to be whatever. Boy, too many details, too many technicalities could really muddy your speech and cause it some problems. Now, along with these guidelines, we want to keep a couple other things in mind. Avoid abstractions where you can. Now, of course, if you're giving a concept speech, your whole speech is kind of an abstraction. But in general, remember, we love concrete examples, okay? If I can give you something a little more to hang on to, then I'm going to follow along with your speech a lot better. Make sure you personalize all of your ideas, meaning tie them to yourself as the speaker. Remember, your audience wants to get to know you. They find you interesting and they want to know a little bit more about why you picked this topic, what background you have in this topic. So personalize the idea. It's okay to say, boy, when I first heard this, I thought this was crazy, but then I came to understand. And you can give your own thoughts and your own opinions on your topic. And make sure you're creative, not only with your word choice, but also how you're deciding to structure your speech. For example, maybe I want to do my informative speech on a person, like, let's say Aaron Rodgers, right? The Green Bay quarterback. Boy, he's in the news all the time. He has been for years. We've heard a lot about Aaron Rodgers over time. And so if you just do a speech like, there's 3 things you need to know about Aaron Rodgers, okay, that's okay. But boy, I think chances are high you're going to cover things that a lot of us have already heard. And our goal for an informative speech is to give us new material, give us new information. So what if you did a speech on 3 challenges Aaron Rodgers had early in his career that made him almost not get into the NFL? Wow, now that is something I'd be interested in listening to. By the way, I'm making this up. I don't even know if those challenges exist. But the point is that is something that the average person might not have heard. And so taking a topic which maybe we've heard a lot about, but giving us a creative twist on that topic might actually be a great way of making your speech really, really interesting. Now, with informative speaking, one of our biggest challenges is how to avoid persuasion. You know, in so many speeches, it's easy to kind of start out really objective and really, really informative, but kind of slide into persuasion as the speech gets going, and especially towards the conclusion. So I've got 2 suggestions for you to be really careful of. One is to mention both sides of the argument. In other words, if your speech is controversial, or even if it's not controversial, try to see what's happening on both sides. So let's take a controversial topic like, I don't know, conceal and carry permits for firearms, right? A lot of people are for these conceal carry permits. A lot of people don't like them at all. Well, I can give you maybe 1 or 2 main points that are in favor of conceal carry and some of the rationale behind it and some of the ways it's used. And then I can give you 1 or 2 main points that show kind of the downsides of concealed carry, the dangers of it, maybe some of the things that are not so great about it. If that is your topic, something that's a little bit controversial, but you're informing us, here's your goal. By the end of your speech, it would be great if the audience doesn't know what side you're on. It would be great if you presented such an objective speech that the audience doesn't actually know where you stand because you presented a fair and unbiased view of that topic. Now, on the other hand, maybe your speech isn't very controversial. Maybe you want to talk about, I don't know. You know, there's 3 things you should know about Paris or something. I don't know if Paris is really controversial, but what I can do in this case is, again, make sure that all of my points aren't glowing reviews of this city, of this tourist destination. So maybe I'll present 1 or 2 things about Paris that's good. Maybe, some of the great food and, something else that's really positive. But then I'm going to want to present 1 or 2 things that's maybe not so favorable about Paris. Maybe, for example, everything's really expensive. So maybe that's something I need to know, the high prices and some of that kind of thing. Paris is like any other big city where there's crime, there's some other things that big cities have to deal with. And so maybe I want to mention some things like that. But that's how we show both sides of a topic. If I mention a tourist destination and everything I say about it is positive, I end up sounding like a travel agent or something, and that's not really very objective. The other suggestion I have, this is going to sound just like a semantic detail, but try to avoid the word you. What we see happen very often is a student will give an informative speech, as I was saying, about there's 3 things to know about Paris. And what can happen is by the end of the speech, the student ends up saying, well, you should really go to Paris. And when you go to Paris, you should really go to this restaurant. You should really try this. And you got to see the Eiffel Tower and you. And if I'm sitting in the audience, I'm starting to maybe feel just a little pressure, a little pressure to do all of these things. I'm feeling like the speaker is metaphorically pointing their finger at me saying, you got to do this. Instead of saying you, change it to be one step removed. So perhaps say something like a person, or perhaps say something like a traveler. So for example, maybe I would say, if anyone goes to visit Paris, something that person should check out is the restaurant yada 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 on such and such a street. Or when travelers go to the Eiffel Tower, something that they report really enjoying is dining at the top of the Eiffel Tower in the restaurant that's up there, or something like that. But by taking out that you word, it really does feel like now if I'm in the audience, I'm not under so much pressure to conform and do exactly what they want. So as you're thinking about your informative speech, there's still some tweaking that you can do to make sure, number one, that you're not being persuasive, that at no time in your speech are you telling us to change something that we do. But also that you're sort of embracing this fact that informing is really a common part of our lives professionally and personally. We are very commonly instructing people on how to do things and talking about various objects. So if you have any questions about your informative speech or any others, of course, go see your teachers. If you'd like to watch this full presentation with closed captioning, please visit the COMMUNIC8 submenu on the UWW-TV website at uww.tv.org. Take care.